It only seems fitting to continue talking about our various micro exoduses from all over the world during Pesach, our grand exodus. Um, so we've talked about the Patria event, the Struma event, and today we're going to talk about the SS Tiger. Before we get into it, though, what was going on, just to give us some insight, up until the SS Tiger Hill event. By 1939, the Jewish population in Palestine, the Yishuv, had grown to about 250,000, roughly 30% of the total population, up from 83,000 in 1922. Zionist organizations like the Jewish Agency, led by figures such as Ben Gurion, were building a proto-state with kibbutzim, schools, industries, and the Histadrut Labor Union. The Haganah, a Jewish defense force, was training to protect settlements from Arab attacks, which had intensified during the 1923 riots and beyond. Arab Revolt 1936 to 1939. The Arab Revolt, starting in April 1936, was a major turning point sparked by opposition to the Jewish immigration and land purchases. It saw widespread violence, Arab strikes, attacks on Jewish communities, and British targets killing hundreds. The Zionists responded with restraint at first, bolstering Haganah defenses, but also faced internal pressure from revisionist Zionists who favored retaliation. The revolt exposed the fragility of British control and strained Zionist-British relations as the Yishuv relied on Britain for security yet saw immigration as non-negotiable. We've had this split since the Great Exodus where the Erev Rav, or the mixed multitude, is explicitly called out. And so here it is, just showing its face again, where you have this divide, even in our micro exoduses, of this internal conflict and division of one group seeing the answer one way and one group seeing it another way. And this has been carried on up until today. What did I say? The more things change, the more they stay the same. British policy shift. The revolt prompted Britain to reassess its mandate. The 1936 Peel Commission proposed partitioning Palestine into Jewish and Arab states. Both sides rejected it. Zionists wanted more land. Arabs opposed any Jewish state. By 1938, Britain was leaning toward appeasing Arabs to secure Middle East stability as war with Germany loomed. This set the stage for the 1939 White Paper, announced in May 1939, which capped Jewish immigration to 75,000 over 5 years, restricted land sales, and envisioned an Arab-majority Palestine in a decade. Zionists saw this as betrayal, especially with Nazi anti-Semitism surging. The movement was a monolithic. Mainstream labor Zionists, dominant in the Jewish Agency, favored diplomacy with Britain while preparing for statehood. Clashes with revisionists, who pushed an armed resistance and immediate statehood. Jablonski's rhetoric calling for a Jewish state on both sides of the Jordan rallied younger activists but alienated moderates. By mid-1939, the Igron had begun a small-scale attacks on Arab and British targets, pausing only when World War II erupted in September, shifting focus to Hitler as a greater threat. At what point do we look at all these events and just think to ourselves, what's the thing we haven't tried yet? Instead of repeating the same old appeasement, the same old compromises, what's the thing that we haven't tried yet? Just give it a gander, give it a thought. By August 1939, Zionists were at a crossroads. Their population and institutions were stronger than ever, but Britain's clampdown, Arab hostility, and Europe's descent into chaos were squeezing them hard. Tiger Hill's attempt was a gamble born of urgency. This is probably going to come out as a tangent, and that's okay. So some people may have stayed in their countries because they liked it there, they had a lot of money, they were successful, whatever, okay? So they're going to stay. They're not going to try to leave. Some people, it was fight or flight response. The flight response includes being immobile, where you just kind of freeze. And they might have felt that it was less risky to stay put than it would be to fare the seas, right? Getting on a boat in rough waters is just as dangerous with no adversaries as it is with adversaries, because the waters themselves can be dangerous. That being said, if you have equal risk of staying put, okay, and getting sent to a camp, or making a risk of rough waters, surviving rough waters, and landing illegally in Eretz Israel, but you survive, that's the choice you make. And there's a lot of people with these immigration conversations who cannot understand. Okay, they've never been in a situation where they've had to fight for their survival, fight for their soul, fight for their peace of mind. Somebody is staying illegally in a country, okay, any amount of time, it's because that risk is less than their risk of returning. Somebody agreeing to be like a third-class citizen or less, making a fraction of the amount of money with less rights, they're doing that because that option is better than returning. And so you have to think about it. Most people, and you can see this in the rhetoric, would just cave to the system. And so these are people who said, no, I'm not going to roll over and die. I'm not going to roll over and be a doormat. I'm going to fight for my survival. And this leads us up to the SS Tiger Hill. The Tiger Hill ship, organized by revisionist Zionists, carried approximately 1,200 Jewish refugees fleeing persecution in Europe, primarily from Poland, Romania, and Czechoslovakia. It sailed from the European port, possibly Constantina, Romania, aiming to land illegally near Tel Aviv, part of the Aliyah Bet campaign to bypass Britain's cap of 75,000 Jewish immigrants over 5 years. On August 31st, 1939, as the ship approached Palestine's coast, British naval forces intercepted it in the international waters near Tel Aviv. Determined to enforce the white paper and deter further landings, a British gunboat fired on Tiger Hill. Accounts suggest warning shots escalating to direct hits, killing 2 passengers and wounding several others. The refugees, desperate to reach shore, attempted to run the ship aground to evade capture. The vessel beached near Tel Aviv's Fisherman Beach, allowing some passengers to jump into water and swim ashore, though the exact numbers of who escaped are unclear. You can just see the dehumanizing aspects of bureaucracy right here, being so rigid that you can't budge for a human being that's so desperate, right? That's so desperate for protection, that's so desperate to belong somewhere, that's so desperate that they would jump off a boat while an army was firing at it. Okay, these are civilians, okay, unarmed civilians would just jump off a boat and swim, okay, because of the escalations in Europe, because of their desperate need for survival, because the bureaucracy was failing them, because nobody saw them as human beings. British troops and police quickly moved in, arresting most of the refugees. Estimates suggest 1,000 were detained. Those captured were sent to intermittent camps like Sarafand or Idlit. Some were later released due to public outcry or administrative chaos as war loomed. The dead were buried locally and the wounded treated, but the incident fueled Zionist anger against British policy, coming just days after another ship, the Peritza, had successfully beached with 800 refugees. The Tiger Hill wasn't sunk or exploded like the Patria later, but its violent interception, Britain shooting at a civilian refugee ship, marked a grim escalation. It happened on the eve of Germany's invasion of Poland, which unleashed World War II and the Holocaust's full horror, making the British stance seem even harsher in hindsight. What good did the British mandate do for us other than give us cats? I mean, really, it's like the worst, most joke ever when you think about it. Like, think about it in a really simple way. It's like the British mandate is a parent and they have 2 children, and the children don't want to play together, okay? So you say, here, you play with the cars and you play with the blocks. But the one with the cars saw you give the blocks to the other one, and now he wants the blocks, and he's crying for the blocks. So you say, okay, never mind, let's just switch, because this one's not crying, but now they're both crying. And so you give all the toys to the other kid, or you promise to give all the toys to the other kid, well, the other one has none. Like, it's so bizarre, their thought process in this. Like, they just got in over their heads. Like, I don't know. They thought it was going to be a walk in the park. It was so easy for the Ottoman Empire. I don't know. It's weird. They gave us cats, and they gave us a bizarre parliament system that makes no sense. The Israeli parliament system couldn't be more of a joke. The whole country could unanimously vote for Netanyahu, and if he can't get enough bureaucrats to form a party with him, he doesn't get to be prime minister. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. God runs the world, so it doesn't matter anyway, but it's weird, okay? It's just weird. But anyway, this is far from the last event. When we can't finish the Pesach season without talking about the SS Exodus.